Hi everyone, Kim Jong Lee here, and I'm back with another online commentary battle for Rome Total War. And I haven't been around for a while, but I've had exams and work and stuff, so haven't really been uploading. And also, I've been playing a lot of other games apart from Rome, so have to excuse me for the infrequent uploads. But we have a battle here. It's 31k, and I'm playing as the Seleucids for a change. Decided to mix things up a bit, especially considering my ally was Luke. Originally my ally was JGP, but due to some changes, my ally became Luke. But I took Seleucids because I trusted that I had a good ally. So it's very crucial for Seleucids that teamwork makes the dream work, and you really need someone good to make Seleucids be any good. But in this case, I'm playing as Selly, which is interesting. I've got 4 Silver Shield Legionaries, gold, 10 Silver Shield Pikemen, gold, and these cataphracts are gold with 1 chevron. So most of my money has gone into the cataphracts, as you'd expect for the Seleucids. 4 Titans Riddler here. Pretty sure this is Luke, but he's got Spartan Hoplites, a lot of them. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, about 14 Spartan Hoplites. 3 of these Cretan Archers, which actually are pretty handy, and interestingly enough, he's decided to go for Militia Cav, so he's got, I believe, 3 units of Militia Cav here. So that's actually a pretty interesting choice, and it actually does come into play a bit later on in the battle. I'll get the battle started. Our opponents are JGP and Paglia. JGP has got 4 Praetorian Cav. He's got 2 Archer Auxilia, and the rest... 4 Archer Auxilia, in fact, and the rest are Urbans. So he sacrificed 2 Cav and 2 Urbans for these 4 Archer Auxilia. And most of his upgrades have gone into, probably, from the looks of it, back into his Urbans. So his Urbans are very, very beefy. We have Paglia here with 4 Praetorian Cav and 2 Archer Auxilia. So again, he's sacrificed 2 of his Praetorian Cav to bring these Archer Auxilia, and I believe, I'm not sure where he's put the upgrades for his. It might be into a bit into the Cav, maybe some into the Urbans, but he's definitely gone for more archers. Both of them have gone for more archers, and that's quite interesting. But I think it's because Seleucids historically very weak to missiles in 31k, so you would bring the archers for that. And also, more crucially, probably, the archers, if you have enough of them, it can really destroy a box endgame, which is something pike factions can go for, especially those like Greece with very, very powerful pikes. They can go for the box late game, and if you don't have enough missiles to weaken the box in certain areas, you're going to have a tough time breaking it. So these archers are very useful in late game, but also for softening up the Seleucids, the Silver Shield Pikes and Silver Shield Legionaries here. Fortunately though, they don't really have flanks with these Archer Auxilia, so if they were out here, I'd be more scared, but they're shooting the front of my dudes, so that's not really too bad, and I could deal with that. But you can see here that I've decided to move all my cataphracts to Luke's side. And you want to really be doing this when you're playing as a team, because the Seleucids by themselves are a pretty bad faction compared to Rome. But once you pair them with a Rome, or once you pair them with the Spartans, then their weak infantry can be kind of compensated on one side. So we're going to see me pushing with Luke here, and you've got the best cav in the game with the best infantry in the game pushing you at the same time. It's very difficult for Paglia or JGP to really do anything to react. If they want to take a full-on fight, they're probably going to come out worse for wear, which is why they're kind of pulling back. I think probably some of the lag issues we were having, JGP not able to pull out all his cav in time. So that's a bit unfortunate. And yes, this game was pretty laggy, I think because of the geographical differences. I'm in Australia, Luke's in the US, and JGP's in Britain, so not exactly the closest countries on the map. Pretty much all over the world, but the lag wasn't very good. It was pretty awful at times, so you'll have to excuse some of the mistakes that do come out from both sides. But we pushed their cav back here, and then Luke tells me to go for a charge on the infantry, so I oblige. Happily try and take some of these infantry out, but predictably enough they go for a counter charge. So this is where kind of Luke's infantry comes in very crucially, because he's the one who's going to be blocking most of these counter charges with his Spartans. So I just pull back behind his Spartan line and I let his Spartans do the work. He puts his pikes down, gets a ton of cav kills, very successfully blocks us off, and you can see JGP or Paglia may be overreacting a bit to this. JGP bringing a lot of urbans over even to stall these Spartans. And this has opened up a pretty nice fight here for me on the far flank, so I'm going to probably take this with my cataphracts. JGP does have reinforcements though, so I have to be careful. Remember, these cataphracts do have a chevron on them on top of the God upgrade, so they're very tough, very tanky, but they do get tired very quickly. Unfortunately, Luke's general is dead. Not quite sure how he died, but not sure where he is either. But he's dead. He's over there. There he is. So he was the one tanking all of the cav, so maybe that wasn't the best position for him to be in. But anyway, he died, and he took a lot of cav down with him, so he's done his job as far as I'm concerned. They do get the rout on a bunch of my cataphracts here. They were winded, and they were outnumbered a little bit, so unfortunately lost a big chunk of my army there. Even though a lot of my army here is still living, most of my money's gone into my cataphracts, so any blow to the cataphracts is really a blow to the Seleucids. The infantry you can kind of deal with later on most of the time. But here, cleverly enough, Paglia pulls back, and I think he's trying to reform with JGP, but Luke's actually opened up this really nice ball of archers just sitting around from JGP. So JGP should have moved this with his infantry, but he hasn't done that, and this has opened it up for Luke to really just snipe these guys. So I motioned for Luke to try and kill him with his light cav, and this is the part where light cav is really useful, because imagine if we only had these cataphracts. I wouldn't be able to chase these down, because these guys are already tired. Chasing these would probably make them very tired, or exhausted at worst, and it would be unprofitable overall. So thankfully he has these fresh and warmed up militia cav, and these are going to deal very well with the Archer Auxilia. You'll see in a second he does go for them. With some Praetorian cav just chasing down this general unit here. Fortunately, the Greeks aren't a barbarian faction, so they'll still be pretty good with these Spartan morale. Won't be too terrible. But here goes Luke in with the charge, and surprisingly enough to me, his cav actually routs on the charge in. I actually expected his cav to do better. I think it might be something to do with possibly the unit scales, because it's large unit scale. The infantry actually doubles more than the cav, so it's not like CWB where this would be guaranteed to like kill him. So maybe he needed a bit more cav in there. But eventually I do help out with the Silver Legionaries. I really didn't want to put my cataphracts into there because they were really tired already, and I didn't want to run them around too much, and I thought they were on skirmish mode, but since they weren't on skirmish mode, I just chucked my infantry in. But you can see Paglia and JGP now circling around, and yeah, we're yet to get these archers, but killing these archers is actually pretty huge for myself and Luke, because these archers basically secure the Romans' endgame, and that's basically the box late game I was talking about earlier. In the late game, if all your cav is dead, you generally hope that your cav closes out the game, but if they don't close out the game, you hope that they've at least done substantial amounts of damage to the opponent, and I think in this case they have. We got a ton of routs on Paglia's guys earlier on, and a ton of kills on the cav. So they had 8 cav at the start, now they're down to I think 4, which isn't very much, like if you count these as a unit, maybe 5. So they're down quite a lot of cav and quite a bit of infantry, especially since they've sacrificed some infantry to bring the archers as well. That's actually some nice peeler coming in from Paglia there into the Silvershire Pikes. I go for a snipe here onto the Romans on this side, because Paglia's cav is all the way, JGP's cav is all the way over there. Paglia's is mostly dead, but he's got these 2 units left, and they're not too great, so this whole flank is really open for me to just go to work with my cataphracts. They are tired, but it's pretty worth it to just take these units out for free, really. With the help of Luke's Spartans, shouldn't be too difficult. And this is the point where we start going for the box, or at least I start going for the box. Should have probably gone for the box a bit earlier, but Gonna start going for the box now, and it's really important to really plug these gaps. Fortunately, we get the route here, so that's really good because Luke can now redirect his attention to these incoming Roman units here. And fortunately, I've set it up just in time, really, to stop kind of the flood of infantry coming from behind as well. So that's really blocked off everything quite nicely. There is a bit of a gap here, unfortunately for me. So, but luckily Luke has tons of Spartans left over, and he's going to be able to plug this really easily and help out with the box. So that's good. And basically you can imagine that this would be quite a bit more difficult if JGP still had his, I think 5, maybe 6, I think, was it 4 units of Archer Auxilia just pelting our rears with arrows. This would be a lot worse in terms of situationally. But fortunately, we've done a lot of damage with the Cataphracts and Spartans early on in the game. We've taken out the Archers, which are a crucial late game unit, and we've got like not a very good box, but it's good enough. Essentially, it's good enough. It's got the pikes pointed in the right directions for the most part, and that's the important thing. And the Greeks are really just cleaning up this late game with their really powerful infantry, just slamming their pikes down in the faces of their enemies, and just using that infantry advantage to its fullest. Also, you have to remember these Roman infantry units have been running around all game. The Spartans have also been running around, but mine are pretty fresh. Some of the Spartans are fresh as well, actually, I think. Warmed up, it's not bad. So in terms of fatigue, we're doing quite well. I screened off these units of Praetorian Cav earlier, so they couldn't get any good rear charges in. It's one of the great things about pikes, they do really well against Cavs. So if you can even just pull one unit, you can screen off a bunch of Cav like that. It's great for your team. But we've bought enough time easily for Luke to finish off kind of the remaining infantry of JGP and Paglia, and this will probably be the game. The really only things left are these Praetorian Cav that JGP has, which are winded. And this unit here that's struggling against the numbers. And yeah, the Spartans late game, notoriously effective, especially in the kind of infantry grind scenario like that kind of endgame was. It was just really infantry hitting each other and hoping for the best. Spartans excel at that because they have the pikes to keep the enemy at range, so they can actually deal damage without taking too much of it themselves. And of course they have the 2 hit points and very, very good stats overall, and they're probably very highly upgraded. So good game to our opponents there. Something a bit different for me, I guess, playing the Seleucids. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next game.